camera for FOIP section 16 for near field servicing. And also FOIP section 16 for solid waste contract.
I'm sorry, what was the second one?
For solid waste contract.
And I'm also going to move 4.1B in camera under FOIP 16. And as well, a discussion around the permanent CAO hiring process in camera. FOIP 17.
Sorry.
A discussion around permanent CAO hiring process. I think FOIP 17. And then I just said move 4.1B in camera under FOIP section 16. Any other additions?
Yeah, I have an addition. I would like to add under my report a resolution for council's consideration.
It'll be under 4.3B2. Anything else?
Also under my report, I'd like to add a letter from a ratepayer.
So 4.3B2, ratepayer letter. Just to formalize it, I'll do the same under my report. Under 4.1, I guess it can become B. It's a ratepayer letter as well. Okay. Any other additions? If not, a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Councillor Wilson has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. We have the organizational meeting minutes from October 15th. Anybody see any errors or omissions?
I'll move on as circulated.
All in favor? Motion is carried. We also had the minutes from the regular council meeting on October 15th. And anyone see any errors or omissions?
I'll move as circulated.
All in favor? Motion is carried. There's bylaw 2019-22. Good morning.
So we have an application to amend the bylaw 2016-01 to redesignate plus or minus 0.29 acres within the southeast of 7, 23, 25 west of the 4th. To redesignate plus or minus 0.29 acres within southeast 7, 23, 25 west of the 4th from agricultural general to country residential, and plus or minus 0.79 acres within plan 001-225 block 1 from country residential to agricultural general. Staff is recommending that council give first reading and that the public hearing be scheduled for December 3rd. These parcels received conditional approval for subdivision on July 9th, 2019. At the time of writing this report, all but one condition of that subdivision had been met. One of these conditions for endorsement was for the applicant to apply to redesignate the lands removed from Plan 001-2255 Block 1 to agricultural general, and to redesignate the lands added to that plan to country residential to align with the new property lines. This bylaw is a result of that application. So the application generally aligns with the objectives, policies, and goals of the SSRP, RGMS, and MDP, all of which speak to maintaining and supporting agricultural land base within the region. Conflict between the land uses is not likely, as the configuration has been similar for the last several years. The existing and proposed land uses will align with the proposed land use districts. So council has three options before them: to grant first reading to bylaw 2019-22 and to give a public hearing, schedule it for December 3rd, to refuse the bylaw, or to approve an alternative recommendation. Staff is recommending approval. And so this was for the subdivision that was moving the lot lines. So this parcel here is country residential. The largest parcel is A. The subdivision moved the lot lines for the country residential parcel up here, and then moved this bottom one here. So this bylaw is just to basically make sure the land uses align with the parcel that they're within. Does that make sense? I can see it better because, yeah.
Council's wishes.
I'm just I just have one question. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm just wondering why they'd have to go through this process and they don't do a simple boundary adjustment.
It was a boundary adjustment, but because the land use doesn't line up, this is also part of that boundary adjustment.
I'll move that bylaw 2019-22 be given first reading.
Questions or discussion?
I just got,
No.
Alberta Health Services. I mean, it's just a pet peeve, but what right do they have to do, like, their health services are
They're a very important aspect of this province.
yeah, right, we're spending $22 billion a year on them, and we could probably cut a bunch of that money out if you just, I don't know what to do with it, but it's Alberta Health.
Great
but
day.
they should not have any say in what they're usurping our responsibilities. End of rant.
I think you're just getting started.
You're probably right, but
I don't know if staff wants to speak to that. My understanding is they just have the responsibility to oversee the water and wastewater, because that's under their regulations, under the health plan.
I do believe they're asked, circulating to ask, provide comments, so provide comment.
I know, but is it in their purview? Like, they're a health service deal.
They are, because of the safety of the water and the implications of wastewater done wrong that can also have health impacts.
Would that not fall back on sort of the buyer beware kind of
Yeah, because then we've realized that's a true thing.
My guess would be it goes back to that same thing where 99.9999 times it's fine, and there was
So,
an incident, so
okay,
now we have regulations.
so what happens then if they say this is fine, and then these people get poisoned by the water? What do? Do we get to sue the government? Do we get to sue ourselves? Like, just a question. You're right, I'm just starting.
Oh, God.
Good discussion. Any other questions
No.
or comments?
It's gonna be one of those days.
Could be.
All in favor of first reading? Motion is carried.
Good thing there's no bins on there.
I'd like to move that public hearing for bylaw 2019-22 be scheduled for December 3rd and to commence at 9 a.m.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
Tom, can I get you a coffee?
I've got a copy.
Okay.
Consider bylaw 2019-26.
Maybe. Weed, maybe. Edibles.
Edible?
Could we, just before we move on, could we, I agree with some of what Tom was saying. Could we maybe contact Alberta Health Service and have them send us a document showing why they have to be involved in, just for information?
That's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Great idea.
And when they get back this year from now, you forgot, well, why you got this done wrong?
Reading for you later.
Good morning, already. Good morning.
We're ready.
So bylaw 2019-26, first reading to redesignate plus or minus 2.27 acres of the southwest 224-26 west of the Fork in order to facilitate a subdivision and consolidation into plan 1661 block 8 lot 1. So I've got the map up there for proposed redesignation. And it is staff recommendation that council grant first reading to this bylaw and that a public hearing be scheduled for December 17th to commence at 9 a.m. So the landowner of parcel plan 1661 block 8 lot 1 would like to construct a mini garage but does not have enough space on the current parcel of 1.157 acres. Just scroll down. There you go. They're proposing to redesignate plus or minus 2.27 acres of the adjacent parcel to country residential in order to facilitate the subdivision and consolidation into their parcel, creating a new parcel totaling approximately 3.84 acres. The proposal generally aligns with the Saskatchewan Regional Plan, Regional Growth Management Strategy, and Municipal Development Plan, and Cheadle's Area Structure Plan. It minimizes the amount of cultivated land removed from the larger parcel, which aligns with the policies addressing agricultural fragmentation. The country residential and agricultural general land uses support each other and currently have minimal conflict, which aligns with the policies addressing minimizing conflict between land uses. The residential development is adjacent to the hamlet of Cheadle, which aligns with the policies encouraging residential development be clustered around urban areas. The proposed accessory building is permitted use within the country residential district, and so the proposed land use is appropriate. At the time of writing this report, and to date, I've received no concerns or objections from external agencies or internal departments, nor any comments from adjacent landowners, which doesn't happen until a public hearing. So council has three options before them: to grant first reading of bylaw 2019-26 and to schedule a public hearing for December 17th, that the bylaw be refused, or that they approve an alternate recommendation. And that is the presentation.
Thank you. Council's wishes.
I'll move that bylaw 2019-26 be given first reading.
Questions or discussion?
Just note there's no AHS comments on this one.
I wasn't gonna say. All in favor?
Could cut his fingers.
Motion is carried. Public hearing.
I'll make the motion to public hearing for 2019-26 scheduled for December 17th, 2019 at 9 a.m. in Wheatland County Council Chambers.
Questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Under 3.1A, AGM relocation date.
Yes, Council. So at the annual general meeting, we had discussed and concluded that the next AGM for Wheatland County is going to be held in Rockyford at the community center. So administration reached out for some dates that are available, and Council wished to find dates later in March. So the community center is available from March 23rd to 27th, which is a Monday, or Monday to Friday. And then also March 30th and 31st, which is a Monday, Tuesday. So we'll just need to set the date and time so we can advertise it, and then also let the Rockford Community Center know so we can schedule that date.
That would be an evening.
Yes, typically it is in the evenings. I believe that's just so all volunteers can attend if they work during the day. That's been the standard practice, but it doesn't mean that it needs to be during the evening. But I think general practice is evening.
I'd like to see it stay in evening hours. Gets everybody out there for a long time.
I can't hear anything.
Sorry, I'd like to have it in an evening meeting.
Okay. I'd like it as late as possible from here.
So the 31st on Tuesday.
First, yeah.
Okay. The meeting typically starts at 7. So if we could have a council motion just confirming that date and time, that would be good.
I also move March 31st at 7 o'clock in Redford.
Councilor Bader has moved. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. 3.1B, ratifying meetings for October.
That's me. So, bear with me here. So we had several kind of out of school meetings. October 9th, we had a joint meeting with the town of Strathmore night meeting. October 16th, there was a Township Road 250 repairs meeting here. It was a night meeting. October 22nd, there was a fire mediation meeting. I think it was yourself, Glenn attended. And October 23rd was a brand launch here at the county office. And then October 30th and 31st, Court Queen's Bench for the GFL case. For ratification.
Make a motion.
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Reeves report, it is included in the package, just a couple of highlights. CP holiday training planning is going really well. We have some staff that are helping out this year, our account development officer and Dave Ryan's, I think, manager community services coordinator. We're at the last meeting and they both have some really good ideas. The CMRB meeting on October 18th, there was an IREF challenge. You'll see it was noted that that was postponed. Calgary had made some amendments to the ASP at their council meeting, and the wrong ASP was submitted to the CMRB for review, so they're bringing that back. Another kind of key challenge is the dispute resolution mechanism. So basically what the board is looking at there is whether all decisions of the board would be up for dispute resolution or just IREF decisions. And then the other key factor that they're trying to determine is whether the board would make that decision and maintain kind of primacy of the board under the act, or whether a third party would be engaged to manage the dispute resolution in an arbitration type scenario, and the board did not agree on that at this point, so it's going back to governance committee for further review. Those were the significant things from there. The other thing is some of the more urban municipalities brought forward that at AUMA, they passed a resolution to recognize RCMP Day, or Royal Canadian Mounted Police Day. They are recognizing that on February 1st. So February 1st, 1920 was when the RCMP were formed from the absorption of the Dominion Police with the Royal Northwest Mounted Police. So the CMRB, one of the board members just asked for all board members to bring it back to their municipalities for consideration in our municipalities. It is going forward for lobbying to the province, but it's just something for our council to consider. You will see a copy of the AUMA resolution under my report under the CMRB meeting. Some background information. And so I am going to ask council to just consider recognizing February 1st, 2020 as Royal Canadian Mounted Police Day. And I will make a motion to that effect. Questions and discussion?
That's the motion.
The motion would be to recognize February 1st, 2020, the 100th anniversary of the kind of inauguration of the RCMP current format or under that name as Royal Canadian Mounted Police Day, so a recognition day for our police service.
We only ever do it once every 100 years. February 1st.
I'm proposing it for this year and then perhaps it could be an annual recognition after that.
I'm good with the every 100 years.
I'll start with this year and we'll go from there. I would probably put together some thank you letters and something to recognize all of our detachments that serve Lyon County would be what I would want to do. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. It was an honor to represent the county at the Hope Bridges Society Artists Among Us Fall Gala today that recognizes inclusion in community, and it was a really beautiful afternoon of art and musical performances. I'm also very excited about our brand launch, and I was really pleased to be at that. The day following the budget from the province, I did do 3 teleconferences with Minister Pond, Minister Madhu, and RMA, just to look at the budget implications from both a municipal perspective and a seniors housing perspective. And I have more extensive notes that will come forward as kind of I continue analyzing that budget. We also had a really good meeting with Minister Madhu, Minister of Municipal Affairs in Edmonton regarding our membership in the Calgary Metropolitan Region Board. I look forward to more discussion with him around that. Deputy Reeve Clausen and I did attend the judicial review regarding GFL on October 30th and 31st at Court of Queen's Bench. And I think it was a fair review. Our legal counsel made some strong arguments, and I look forward to the judge's decision on that. So, if there's no questions, I will move adoption of my report.
Actually, I have a question. I had a couple ratepayers asking about the tree program through ASB. When is it started now? Do you know?
Next spring, that will start.
In the spring, and can
We're
you
budgeting 20,000 for next
For 2020.
20.
for 2020? And is it like an application form that they just come in and fill out, or how does?
Yeah.
Yeah, the application form was part of the ASB package. I probably have it right here. I assume we'll do a launch of it. So we've just ratified the program. My assumption would be that now that we've ratified kind of the program and the documents, I'm assuming that administration will roll that out. Like I don't think it's available yet.
Okay,
It was
so spring.
just a budget. It was basically approved through the budgeting process.
Okay.
Trees don't do real well this time of year. I just.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm assuming the ordering will be done fairly in
It would
advance, so.
be a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And
This was
that's
a shelter belt program, you have to do it quite early, so.
what they're asking about.
Yeah. We'll do a launch.
That's good that they're already.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, exciting. Thank you for the question. Any other questions about my report? All in favor? Motion is carried. A letter was circulated from Lauren Moore, the president of the Glacier District Community Association. I'll just read it because it's not in the package. The former Glacier School shop was built by the parents at Cooney and was subsequently moved to Glacier when the schools were consolidated. It's a separate building from the actual school, which is being demolished. The Glacier District Community Association is willing to take possession of the building and create a community recreation facility and a small museum. We intend to provide horseshoe pits, bocce courts, a beach volleyball court, and walking path. This will be accomplished by volunteer labor and funding in keeping with the original principles of community engagement. The community center will cover the cost of insurance for the building. They are in negotiations with the saddle maker who will use a portion of the building in return for which he will pay for the utilities and upkeep. He has a significant collection of military harness and tack. If we combine these with some of the community center artifacts, they will become the basis of an interpretive center on the 22nd Battery, an artillery unit which was based in Glacier. The craftsman is the official saddle maker for the Lord Strathcona horse and is an expert in horse-drawn military equipment. He would like to relocate here, and he would be a huge asset to our community. We're also communicating with the Military Museum in Calgary and the South Alberta Light Horse Regimental Association, which perpetuates both the 22nd Field Battery and the Rocky Mountain Rangers, who patrolled this area during the Riel Rebellion. The South Alberta Light Horse Regiment continues as a reserve element of the Canadian Army base in Medicine Hat. They provide an excellent source of information as well as the possibility that we could become an extension of their institution. We do not want to move the building, but to retain its present location, which is close to other recreation and tourist facilities and the park. We hope to meet with you as soon as possible. So there is a timeliness issue to this request, is why I have brought it forward as part of my report. The building could potentially be sold and moved shortly, and so the community has asked us to consider this. I did have just one further note that the Gleason and District Community Association has asked us to consider. The board met last night and wanted to state further that they do have an agreement for utilities and rent, and that the GDCA executive and board have already agreed to fund putting water and sewer into the building and have money set aside for that purpose. So I'm open to discussion.
Just for clarification, there are residents willing to put their own money up for moving the building and using it themselves. So, just to make everybody aware of that. When you have residents without government intervention willing to do something with their own money, it should be looked highly on.
It says here that
So,
we don't want to move it.
There's other residents that are willing to move it with their money.
Okay.
For their own use.
For their
For
own
private
use.
use.
So this association is planning on paying for it, they want to donate it. So if there's other residents want it, then put it up for bids.
It's not in the ours.
yeah,
And
does it belong to us or does it
No.
belong to the Golden Hills?
No, it's Golden
What?
Hills, and these other residents have worked out a deal. It was planning to be moved today, except for this came out, so they had to move the moving trucks till Thursday. So if there isn't a decision today, it will be off property and being used for private use by Thursday, because we had proactive citizens that were willing to put their money up for grabs.
So if it's property of the Golden Hills, why are we dealing with it?
That's a good question.
This letter should have gone to Golden Hills, not to us.
I think they're just asking for us because we have done discussions with Golden Hills about the rest of the site.
And as we've directed before in the previous motion, they have to deal with Golden Hills, not council.
Well, from my perspective, because of the nature of their proposed plans with the museum and the recreation, I do think the county has a role in facilitating the request, particularly because it's a net zero cost to the county and it could increase recreation offerings as well as cultural offerings through the museum for county ratepayers, is where I see our role.
I've got a concern that this building is gonna stay with what I read in this letter. This building is gonna stay where they want it to stay, right where it is. And they're gonna put sewer and water into that location. We have a massive piece of land there. Do we want a standalone building there that doesn't have any
No, we want to
zoning, any idea what we wanna do with this piece of property, which may go into future development of and we've got a standalone, basically we've got to have a garage out in the middle of nowhere.
It's not out in the middle of nowhere. I think it's
But it could be out in the middle of nowhere depending on how you develop that piece of property.
well, it's kind of on the corner of the property. Yeah, it's the corner of the property.
My question through the chair is, if the moving trucks were booked for today, then there must have been an agreement with Golden Hills for those people to pick
There
that
was.
up.
Well, my
Exactly.
understanding, and this is just from a representative of the community association, is that the resident who had the movers, and this I'll just read from the message that I was sent, that they just didn't want it to be demolished, is why they had made that agreement. So I don't.
I still think it's Golden Hills issue.
They had an agreement. Kevin from Golden Hills just asked for it to be moved back. Sorry, I'm not strict over here. Just so we can deal with this issue.
Not our issue.
Well, I take it might be our issue if we own the land underneath it
But we don't.
We don't right now.
We don't.
now, but we will, right?
Yeah, but
This is
do we
this-
want a building here, or do we want an open piece of land that we can develop in any kind of sense? And perhaps have something similar to that in a different way.
Well, at this point, the building is there, it would be a net zero cost to the county. What we currently have earmarked for that piece of land is just recreational use, with the current sports kind of fields that are there. And from my perspective, having a building that could store some of the equipment like for beach volleyball or bocce balls or that type of thing in a secure manner for no cost would be beneficial. And I think the work that the community association has done without other government involvement, these are private citizens that have done this work to reach out to the saddle maker, to look at the artifacts that are available, to reach out to the military. All of this has been done by private residents as well.
And they had 3 years to do it, and last minute when their mover trucks were coming, they come up with a solution because they didn't like where it was going.
I wouldn't say it's because they don't like where it was going, it's because they're trying to do something.
So then why didn't they come up when we asked last year for solutions?
Obviously, this has taken some time for them to develop that. So it's not, the bottom line is it's not too late. From my understanding, the landowner, the private citizen who was looking at moving it was willing to wait. That's why it has been postponed for council to consider negotiating this with Golden Hills. I would anticipate that we would need some kind of an agreement with the community association because the building would be on county land. So there would need to be some kind of, agreement outlining these terms where they would be responsible for insurance. And maybe you could put a clause that they'd be responsible for moving it if, they weren't keeping it up or maintaining utilities on it, or there was a significant change in land use or that type of thing could be written into the contract.
I have a few questions and concerns. Number one, I agree, it's not our land, it's kind of out of our purview at this moment, because my last I understood was it's still Golden Hills land and their plan to do whatever they wanted to do, and that was their negotiation. I didn't step on the toes. Two, when they say water and wastewater servicing, just off the top of my head, I'd say the rough cost would be at least $20,000. I'm getting a head shaking somewhere in there, so are they going to pay for that?
They said they had funding earmarked for it, so I'm assuming.
And I don't even know if we have servicing, I have no idea if it's feasible to even service from existing.
I don't
And
think
it is
they fully
late in the
understand
game, but this has been going on for a long time. We've had several discussions over this. Not necessarily this building, but the whole site. I don't fault them for trying to do what they're doing. I admire it, but I don't think we can get that.
Well, we're talking about looking at some redevelopment for the community. To me, this is zero cost recreation and culture. And if council's not willing to look at those, facilitating that for the community, I think that's really sad and disappointing.
Through the chair, I think with the conflicting comments coming up, I'm not willing to vote on this today or Kathy until, I think we put this on hold until the administration has talked to Golden Hills and we have something in writing as to what Golden Hills, what their agreement is and something from the owners in writing saying that they will pay for the servicing and from the people that are currently sitting there waiting because it's costing something for that. Something in writing from them saying that they're willing to wait, because right now we have nothing but this letter.
And something in writing that says they know the cost, what the cost might be, so that they've investigated how much that's gonna cost for water and sewer.
Yeah, but more so, something from Golden Hills.
I disagree. We were asked by Golden Hills a long time ago if we wanted that school. We said no, we didn't want it. We would take the land, it's all Golden Hills. Who it is, I don't have a clue. Has approached Golden Hills within their time frame and have used their money, probably put deposits down on a parcel of land, I don't know. they made an agreement with Golden Hills to move that building out, and they had a date set. What about those people? They're out money too.
That's what I'm
Are we
talking
gonna
about.
reverse them because we can't, we've already made a decision. Golden Hills is looking after it. This is a Golden Hills thing. We shouldn't be holding it up in any way. These people want to do this, they should be approaching Golden Hills and say, hey, we got an idea for it. And if Golden Hills, the timeline's gone, we have a timeline here of whatever it is for build a building and you don't build it, then it's extra or your permit's null and void, everything will start over. I'm sorry, this is last minute and it's Golden Hills deal. And we made a deal with them just for the land.
I guess that's what I was getting at, it's Golden Hills issue, and I can't make a decision on this without hearing where Golden Hills is coming from. It's their problem as far as I'm concerned.
So if we just leave it, it'll be moved on Thursday.
Well, I am going to put a motion on the floor for council to consider directing the administration to look into the feasibility of making an agreement with Golden Hills to retain ownership of the building and to investigate a agreement with Leishman and District Community Association regarding cost of servicing and ensuring an upkeep of the building. I apologize for the timing, I agree it's not ideal, but the building has not been moved and I think it could be an incredible asset to the community. Where our role comes in is, like Councilor Ritter has pointed out, it would sit on we would own the land that it would sit on. And we do facilitate recreation and cultural experiences for our municipality.
Well, I'm sorry, through the chair, I'm sorry, but I can't vote in favor of that motion. To me, it's not our issue, it's Golden Hills, and as Councilor Wilson has said, we've had them in here one other time with a huge idea of what they were gonna do down there, and absolutely nothing happened. This comes like last moment, they're gonna, and to me, this is Golden Hills issue, not ours. Until they come up and decide it, I can't, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to vote in opposition to that.
Ditto.
And you check for in your interest.
And also, if that building was to stay there, we have an opportunity to get the land as a chunk. Now we're going to get a land where we're gonna have to rezone in the middle where it is, I don't know. Make a proper decision. Planning department, I think it's just too far gone. It's only been 3 years, I think. How long has it been? No, I can't go over where we need it.
Yeah, the worst of it is, it's a hell of a good idea, it's just 2 years too late.
Is there any other place within Leishman that we can do this? My understanding is lots of vacant buildings in Leishman. I don't know for sure, but I don't know what we own or if there's something like the idea, maybe there's something else we could do to work with them. But as far as that building itself, I have to say the same thing. It's just we're so far down the road, it's not even ours. But I don't want to see that go on.
Well, my understanding is it could be ours if we were, and I'd be willing to enter into discussions with the current landowner who's looking at it to see, what the impacts to them would be, even if we took until our next council meeting to gather information. I'm not sure if November 5th versus November 19th is that significant for when this has been a long process. They do have a solid plan in terms of all of the funding of it.
I've just got a problem, this is just last minute. There are so many questions I have that I can't even, none of it is addressed. And we have got citizens out there, we have ratepayers that have gone out there, they've got agreements with Golden Hills, who are the owners, and they were supposed to be moved today, they've done everything they've got, and we're just gonna go in there and we have to reward citizen,
Self-responsibility.
you know, like, these guys did this on their own. This could have been done long time ago, like last minute, and telling me that it's a net zero cost. We have no way of knowing that. We don't know how much it's gonna cost the county to get a sewer line over there so that they can tie into it. We have none of those costs. We have none of that stuff there. We have no idea whether I'm planning on whether or not what this piece of property, do we wanna chop up this piece of property there? So my answer, my vote will be no.
I'm assuming there are utilities at the school, which is next to the building that is on site. We are also limited with changing use of that site, or I believe the contract with Golden Hills is 3 years, I believe. I have to go back and look, where you can't change use or sell it because of the frustrated refusal of getting it back for no cost. So it's not like we're going to be turning it around and selling it next week because a bare site has to be maintained by the county for a number of years.
Does, the people that were moving it, we don't even know if they know, what they were gonna use it for. Maybe just a quick discussion with them, and
But is it our purview to ask if it's private use?
I don't know, it is. It's hard. But maybe if they knew what it was going for, they would decide not to. Like maybe, this information could be given to them, and if they decide,
This
they had
information,
the first deal, let them have that.
this information has been released to the
It has.
landowner. Better.
And the response that I got was that the landowner, their main priority was to not see the building demolished, and that's why they were willing to delay their moving of the building.
They just didn't want
So
to
let the
use
person that has the deal make the decision. If they want it, they can have it.
But this proposal hinges on council's support of having it on our land.
So call the question and see if the support's there.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is defeated.
That's a good idea.
The second item under my report was the fire board bylaw, and we're going to discuss that in camera under report section 16. Deputy Recorder.
Thank you. My report is in the package. Some of the things that are different than I did than anybody else. Attended October 10th the CMRB flood workshop in High River. Some interesting listening to the perspective of the county, Foothills County, with all the diking that was done within High River, how it affects downstream, what they had to do. They had to end up buying some properties out as well, because it pushes the problem further downstream just for future. And that was really good information, because when we were downstream in some other areas, bigger populations as well. Township Road 250 open house for the paving project. We did have about 20 people attend. It was a great discussion. I'd say there was maybe 4 that opposed and the majority were in favor. Biggest concern was they don't want a freeway. They'd rather have a speed limited road, 90, 80 in that area. I've also had roughly 15 emails that I forwarded on to Mike as well, and I get some more every day. So just for information for budget. Attended the Southern Conference in Van Hills, which don't ever trust your GPS to get there because it will take you on the wrong side of the lake. And a car is not a good thing. Yeah, that's it. Any questions? I was presented.
Any questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Councillor Division 1 report.
As circulated my report, nothing major. Enjoyed the Saywalk Communication Workshop in Vulcan on the 3rd. Frustrating meeting with the town of Strathmore on the 9th. And Handy Bus, very good conversations around the Handy Bus right now. Councillor Montgomery from the town relayed to the board their budget restraints right now and the potential of loss of a bit of funding from the town, just potential. We'd have to dive into it further. We're looking at different models of cost saving through Handy Bus, and I too relayed that with shallow gas and potential police funding reform, that we would too be looking at funding different sorts of funding throughout the county in all committees and all aspects. I didn't say it would be directed at them, but they have to understand where we're sitting financially. So, other than that, I'll move my report as read.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
I have one more under my report. Sorry. Oh, and the ASB meeting minutes for distribution.
A motion to approve.
Sure.
All in favor? Motion is carried.
So, since the election of this past November, there's been lots of talk about where Alberta fits into Confederation. And it's not just coffee talk at this point. It's a grassroots movement, and by no means am I a separatist. But I'll just, I threw something together with help Tom, just to relay my frustrations and perhaps solutions to the issues at hand. So I'll just kind of intro it here. In 1887, John Hugh Wilson moved from Ireland to Gleason, Alberta in hopes to create a better life for himself and his future family. Like many settlers of the time, John Hugh began growing his ranch and family based on the ideas of freedom, individualism, and hard work. Brave men and women throughout history have laid down their lives for these ideas and for a better future. These values laid the foundation for generations to come, and they laid the foundation for Alberta and the culture within it. Since the election of Justin Trudeau in October of 2015, these values are no longer represented in Ottawa. And with the re-election of the Liberals this past October, there's no acceptance in Eastern Canada for such values. The Government of Canada has shown time and time again that our people, our industries, and our culture mean nothing to them. Whether it be the carbon tax, which is a direct hit to our agriculture producers, Bill C-48, the oil tanker ban, Bill C-69, the No More Pipelines Act, or the Hidden Long Gun Registry with Bill C-71. The Government of Canada is slowly restricting our personal freedoms one by one and not allowing us as Albertans to reach our full potential. While I tip my hat to Premier Jason Kenney and his government for sticking up for Albertans and their interests, I don't believe this is solely a provincial responsibility. I was elected to represent my residents' concerns, no matter how big or small, whether some believe it is in the purview of local government or not. Our residents and their livelihoods are under attack, and we as municipalities can no longer just continue to sit back and watch. We must step outside the box of normal responsibilities that rural municipalities have. We must get political. For too long, Alberta and its rural municipalities have been forgotten within Confederation. Now it is our turn to be heard. In order to protect the values that built this province and the future of its people, we must ensure the Government of Canada understands its limitations, and we must implement policies that are Alberta first. I'll just go right through the resolution if everybody's okay with that. Might be, bear with me, of course. And it took me a long time to put this together, so you can laugh at me after. Alberta First Resolution. Whereas Alberta contributes more per person to a national economy than any other province, with only 12% of Canada's population, Alberta attracts 1/4 of all capital investment in the country and is responsible for more than 1/5 of all Canadian goods exported. Whereas Albertan workers contribute far more to the Canada Pension Plan than retirees take out. In 2017, 16.5% of all CPP contributions came from Alberta workers, while just 10.6% of CPP expenditures made their way back to the province. If Alberta were to remove itself from the Canadian Pension Plan, the current CPP rate, 9.9%, would have to be increased to 10.6%, resulting in up to $367 in additional contributions from all other payroll taxes for for workers outside of Alberta. Meanwhile, Albertans would pay just 5.85% for a CPP-like program for the province. Whereas a Statistics Canada 2017 report states that the Government of Canada generated $50.3 billion from Alberta taxpayers and only spent $28.5 billion in Alberta. Albertans pay more in federal taxes than we get back in federal tax spending. Meanwhile, the federal government generated $53.7 billion from Quebec taxpayers and spent $70.1 billion in Quebec. Whereas the province of Alberta is underrepresented in both houses of parliament. While holding 12% of the nation's population, Alberta only commands 10% of the seats in the House of Commons, with 34 seats, and 5.7% of the seats in the Senate, with 6 seats. The Maritime provinces, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island hold 5.1% of the total population in Canada, yet they hold 22% of the seats within the Senate. Whereas the Northwest Mounted Police were founded in 1873 with a military culture, and that remains a central aspect of the RCMP culture today. Over the last number of decades, the changing society has caused the RCMP to change into an inefficient and poor service. As Wheatland County has found, having 5 different divisions and many detachments understaffed, there is no future plans of the organization reaching its own recommendation of officers per capita. The National Police Force is no longer fulfilling local needs across the province of Alberta. Whereas Alberta accepted 38,683 immigrants in 2018, and Quebec, a population twice the size of Alberta, accepted 47,903 immigrants. The province of Alberta accepted 61% more immigrants per capita than Quebec. While having no way to regulate or refuse immigration, Alberta is allowed only to choose 5,500 economic immigrants, unlike Quebec, which has a stronger authority over the province's immigration. Therefore, be it resolved that the Alberta government act on the following recommendations in order to assert Alberta's constitutional rights within Confederation. That the province of Alberta withdraw from the Canadian Pension Plan and create an Alberta Pension Plan offering the same benefits at a lower cost while giving Alberta control over the investment fund. Pensions are a provincial responsibility under Section 94A of the Constitution Act, 1867. B. That the province of Alberta collect its own revenue from personal income tax, as the province already does for corporate income tax. There is no reason to have Ottawa collecting Alberta's revenue. Any incremental cost of collecting our own personal income tax would be far outweighed by the policy flexibility that Alberta would gain. C. That the province of Alberta use Section 88 of the Supreme Court decision in the Quebec succession reference to remove equalization from the Canadian Constitution, and the federal government and any other provinces must seriously consider the proposal for constitutional reform endorsed by a clear majority on a clear question in a provincial referendum. D. That the province of Alberta use again Section 88 of the Supreme Court's decision in the Quebec secession reference to demand Senate reform. Alberta has acted decisively in holding Senate elections, and now is the time to drive this issue even further. E, that the province start preparing options to replace the RCMP as a provincial police force. Alberta is a unique province that needs a police force operated, owned, and directed by the people they serve. Like other major provinces of Ontario and Quebec, we should have our own provincial police force that answers to the government of Alberta and understands the regional needs throughout the province. We have no doubt Alberta can run a more efficient and effective police force than Ottawa can. F, that the province of Alberta enter into agreement with the federal government similar to the Canada-Quebec Accord, allowing Alberta to oversee its own immigration that depicts the regional, cultural, and economic needs of the province. Further be it resolved, if the federal government does not deal with these demands in good faith, if they block, hinder, or otherwise prevent Alberta from exercising its rights as outlined above, then the government of Alberta will hold a referendum with a clear question, as defined in the Clarity Act, on the secession of Alberta from the Canadian Confederation on October 18, 2021. So yeah, that's what I did yesterday.
Question, Jason, are you expecting this to go to
RMA.
this fall?
No. That's going to be discussed. My first intent was to get it to the spring. RMA.
So I was gonna say, if he goes up there now, it'll fail, and you don't want to have it fail.
No.
Well, there is a potential argument, so under RMA's resolution process policy, it says an emergent resolution is defined as a resolution submitted to RMA after the resolution deadline that deals with a subject or problem that has arisen subsequent to the resolution deadline. The resolution deadline was Friday, October 18, 2019, so we could argue that the federal election.
I realize that
Following
it suits the emergent resolution. The problem is there's too much information in here that nobody's had any.
And that's what was discussed
It needs to go
between
through that.
when me and Tom were putting it together. We wanted time for people to understand where we're coming from and the impacts that this could have. So that's why our first thought was this spring's RMA in March.
So between now and the spring, whether I agree or disagree with everything that's in here, that's beside the point. But between now, before you put this in as a resolution, it has to go through a zone meeting, and you need to have at least 3 or 4 2 or 3 of the zones backing what you're putting forward, and you may change it before it gets that far. So there's a lot of work put into this, and some of it's good. I don't know if I agree with everything, but it has to get through this council first, then it has to get through our zone, and at that time you have to move it through some of the other zones to see if you can get support through them.
Yeah, and I have been in discussion with a number of municipalities, both north and south, and they fully support the idea. So that's kind of where I wanted to go today. I wanted council to adopt it and then be willing to send this and a letter of intent saying that we plan to present it to our central zone meeting in February and get it on the provincial radar. And hopefully we'll have other municipalities. I want to send that to all rural municipalities in Alberta and hopefully get a few big supporters there. And perhaps even send it to the government of Alberta just asking, just showing that municipalities are on the radar now. But I'm up for discussion.
So you're basically what you're looking for, I'm hoping, is that you're looking for support in principle to move forward with this, but you're not looking for a motion to ratify this resolution. Because this may not be the resolution that goes forward once you get through the process. So if you're just looking for agreement in principle to the idea, then you do the work that's needed to get it back so that when it comes back to us before the spring convention, then we can put the motion forward to accept it or reject it to go to the, so but right now to ask us to agree to this as printed.
We don't have a ton of time, so our deadline for resolution submissions to District 2 Central RMA for spring session, like for the spring conference, is January 7th, 2020. So there's
It could even go to the fall convention. But there's no rush on something like this if you want it to go through. The worst thing you can do is put a rush on it, move it through there and get it kicked out, because then it defeats any of the purpose that the province is already working on, and with their association with Manitoba, Saskatchewan, that whole process. So I would even say that hold it till the fall convention and put it through then. That gives you lots of time to do the work you need and get it.
I kind of disagree. And there is one part in here that I have a problem, a debate about. But I think we need to get it forward and see what the zone thinks about it, and maybe at that time you can decide.
But
Whether
that's
it
why I
goes
say
to
if
fall
you
or
put
not.
it forward in principle, then you're not bound to absolutely, if you put it through as a motion that you agree with everything in here, that's how it goes forward.
Oh,
That's what
But that being said, they can make amendments to this resolution at the zone meeting.
right.
So, I mean, we can, because my intent is to pass this as a resolution, not just to adopt it to principle. I think we can have those debates now,
That zone.
but at zone as well. I mean, I think we can't continue to silence debate on certain issues, especially when we have polls suggesting that, and by no means, I'll be quite honest, I'm not a separatist, I'm an Albertan. But that debate has to happen in order for this province to go ahead. And I don't, like I said, I want to fix Confederation as much as I can, and that's why I outlined steps to do it. But if those steps aren't made, if the government of Canada refuses to meet us in the middle, where do we go from there? Are we going to continue to bend over? Because that's not going to happen.
But if you put this forward as a motion to accept it in principle, that gives you the authority from this council to move forward and work on this. But if you're asking for a flat out,
I don't know if I could do any more work on it. I had such a headache after yesterday.
you may find once you start talking to the other ones that the wording might change. Some of the clauses may be thrown out to shorten it, to make it more palatable for there's all kinds of things that can happen once you get it out there to the other
But
areas.
doesn't that happen at zone? Like, I have not been to zone, so I don't.
We can make amendments to adopted resolution at a central zone. meeting.
But if you start amending and you start getting 1, 2, 3, 4 amendments, it'll get lost. It'll get lost in the confusion. When you put it forward, you need something in there that goes through and at the most one amendment. But once you start adding amendment to amendment to amendment, the crowd will throw it out because they don't have enough information.
I think it's important to get it
That's why you
before
accept
January
this in
7th.
principle. Then it goes out. You're not bound by it, but it's like anything else that you accept in principle. It gives you the chance to work on it. But like if you want a dead fast motion that this go forward as is, I can't vote for it.
Well, can I
Go
ask
for
why?
it in principle.
We're here to have that debate, so
I agree with Ben. The reason for it is, if we pass this as is, and you send it out to the other zone members, they're gonna debate it in their own, and they're gonna discuss it, and they're gonna come up with an amendment, guaranteed. And then when we go to the zone meeting, they'll be all amending it, people say not enough remote, and it'll get lost. If we do it in principle, and you invite the other councils to put their comments in and build the resolution that way, then you've already got their buy-in for when it comes to present the resolution. So if you don't do the work on the resolution beforehand, sometimes you don't get a chance to do it after the fact. I've seen amendments keep crawling around and people just vote it out and say, bring it back in the spring, or bring it back next year when you do. But if you ask for their input in crafting a resolution, then they own it and it would become a District 2 resolution. Something that hasn't happened for a long time, a whole district sponsored a resolution instead of District 2 passed meeting. It could be a District 2 resolution. And I think if you had a District 2 resolution, carry a lot more weight than
And if it's supported by District 3 and District 4,
That's right.
when it goes forward, then you've already got the,
I just wanna see it go forward, so whatever it takes, like if we have to do a little bit more steps, I'm willing to do that. I just wanna see it go forward, I don't want it to poo-poo.
I see merit in what Councillor Armstrong and Councillor Pfister are saying. We do have time, like if you were willing to accept a motion in principle and then send out this as a draft to our district, neighboring municipalities in our district, and as well outside to the other districts. I agree, we could get some momentum and perhaps better buy. I think we're gonna see strong support for it, but there could be nuances that are, and you know, like small edits or.
So if this goes forward as in principle, can we get this done?
That's what I
Before
would
they
ask
are,
them for
like,
you to say,
January
bring it back to
7th,
the
because
first December meeting.
Pushing it down the
Just spend
road
a
is
month.
not going to.
Yeah.
We had an election that told us that 63% of our fellow Canadians do not agree with anything we stand for in Alberta. And I'm sick and tired of trying to sway the 63%, and I just want
you can try to get it in there by that time, but you'll find out when it goes out whether or not the rest of them are willing to put it through that fast. Then you'll have to decide whether you want to wait or try and push it through by yourself, which you might get a negative response to. So if you do it in principle, and part of that is saying that you want to see it come forward in the spring convention, part of that can be changed. Anything that's in there then can, but if you put it through as a hard, fast motion, you probably won't get it through. And that's not a positive move for you.
First, I want to say thank you for all the work that you've done on this. You put a lot of effort into it. You've done a lot of research. The in-principle thing and the spring deadline, I think, is a good approach. It gives a chance for everybody to look at it, and then because the resolution, when it starts changing and everything votes in, it gets lost in that. You don't want to see that something document this size. If they start picking apart paragraph by paragraph, you could be 4 or 5 hours there sitting and voting, and you lose so much of it. Whereas if everybody has a good look at it, has some input back and forth, I think it's invaluable. I don't think that timeline is too short to have for spring. It's pretty fresh in everybody's mind. And I think now's the time to do that. I'd like to garner support for it even within our own county. Make sure that we have some residents here that have a say. I don't know if we can do that within our own boundaries. I understand what a lot of people have told me support this. But there are also some people that probably do not, but they don't want to say.
If you go forward in principle, then you can also approach Strathmore as our standard rep. There's 3 jurisdictions within Wheatland County that if you can get their support at the same time, that's a plus.
Oh, for sure. Everybody was.
You won't get that between now and next Monday.
And
We
then
could send it to our urban municipalities as well to go to union.
that's what I was just gonna say. Could be an EMA thing as well. It'd be 2 pronged, right? So. We may not get the cities in on it, but
Medicine happening.
no, I thank you for all the work you've done. It's
Yeah,
really good.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm
Gives
good
me
with that.
hope.
Do a motion.
I'll move that Wheatland County Council accept Alberta First Resolution in principle
And then move it forward to the other.
and move it forward to all municipalities in Alberta, rural and urban.
Questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
Good job, Jason.
Yeah. Division 3 report. That's just too hard to follow.
Yeah.
There's a few things that I wanted to highlight. There was at District 2 meeting, it was passed that the opportunity to for improvement for the FCM presentation for rural issues and Western perspectives that would go forward. But have we put anything forward, because I know that they were asking for suggestions that we wanted to see at the FCM? Was there anything that Wheatland County put forward? And should we decide on some things that we want to see or hear?
We should put something forward because we were
Because
the
we
ones
did
that.
do the resolution, that was my biggest concern.
And I think, and I thank you very much. I was otherwise occupied. And I think I think the biggest thing is I think we should push the energy end of things.
Yeah.
Just because that was such a joke last year. Like that was beyond sad on what it was, Sunday morning, 7 o'clock. Yeah, I mean it was a joke. I mean I learned a lot. Like when you have the Calgary Chamber of Commerce representative saying that Calgary's transitioning out of oil, it's always a good idea to figure out what you're going to transition into. But they're transitioning out of oil, and I don't know what that 1.2 million people are going to do if we don't have oil in this country. I guess we're going to find out here in the next 4 years. So anyways, yeah, I think we have to, and I think that if we approach some of the like CAP and all that kind of stuff, I think they'd be more than happy to give us to get on side with this, right? Because they need us, I mean they're trying, but they need we have to get to the rest of Canada that how important we are. Like it's not the fact that we're hurting, it's how important we are. Because if we don't do this anymore, if we don't produce oil anymore, Canada is going to be a third world basket case in a matter of years.
So how do we get that to the RMA?
So my apologies for missing that meeting. Some of what we had discussed previously with that motion was a proactive education campaign. So I think that could be a top suggestion, would be to, if the motion is carried at the provincial level, just to have RMA develop or like work on a energy education strategy.
Yeah. It was mentioned at RMA.
He did ask for suggestions
But
from these values.
Al Kenmure said basically what you're talking about. They just voiced their displeasure already about the Sunday morning.
Yeah.
They've already gone down that avenue, so they're looking for something more than just that.
Some of the other things that you may want to cover. So I don't know, rural crime would be in there. Problem is that their rural crime, our rural crime is so different. I don't know. But if there's any other suggestions, we should put something forward.
Yeah, I don't know how, I still think that education thing is because I honestly, I know for a fact that these people don't get it. You get to the other side of that Manitoba border and they do not understand. They think we're just a bunch of selfish, whining individuals and they do not understand what we contribute. Like what?
They will.
And further, I think like the education and messaging and maybe somebody like Vivian Krause to come and present at FCM. They may not consider that, but just to see a different perspective, right? I think like her video should be mandatory education for every Canadian.
Yeah.
So maybe is that something we can put forward? Like right there?
Yep.
In a letter?
Just to know, it's not all the eastern side, western side too. I have somebody that went to a conference that we've been watching the last little while, and at a conference that had nothing to do with it, it was mentioned about Alberta and how misguided we are in a conference, and that's wrong. It shouldn't be that way. We don't do that in RMA. We do that. We have respect for everybody, but some of these conferences that other things are doing that you're talking about our industries here, I think it's education. It's the key.
Messaging.
Messaging and education.
Any other
So you
ideas?
need a motion on that or to put something forward to RMA?
Yeah, we could just maybe draft an addendum to the resolution to include ideas.
It was separate from the resolution. He asked
Just
the
to go
end
to
of
the board. Yep.
He asked for them at the end.
I wasn't there this past
Yeah.
FCM. Who was on the energy panel? Yeah, that's why I'm asking because
Okay, so the
Quebec mayor.
Quebec mayor, who's the head of all the small Quebec municipalities who stayed without enough money, they would never ever have a pipeline, another pipeline buried in Quebec. But he left it. If we pay them, they will do it.
pricks.
No, well, they're politicians. They know which side of the bread's buttered. The mayor of PEI, Summerside.
Yeah, I'm
Because they
sorry.
got-
Like you
got
can
50
you can stop there. There's no reason that those people should be on an energy panel. You can have
Chamber of Commerce
you
who's
can
transitioning from Calgary, who's transitioning out of oil.
Yeah,
I think there was a woman that represented CAP, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, just.
like
I
I'm
think there
sorry.
was one person on there that, like, because PEI was.
FCM has to get away from having panel members just elected officials. Have Vivian Crooks, have some major CEOs, like have some companies that have some clout, and if there's any left by the next FCM, who knows? But those are the people you can have. You can have people who are against it on your panel. That's great. Have a few Easterners and
Have a fulsome discussion.
have a fulsome discussion. I mean, they can dump the sewer into the
Well, you
water
see,
or something like that, and
the mayor of Summerside was there because they have transitioned to wind power. They generate over 12 megawatts of wind power. He failed to mention that they have 12.5 megawatts of diesel generation backup power.
Yeah.
He didn't mention that at all in his whole thing. So, but it's that kind of lunacy that we have to deal with.
like we have to avoid being just listening to politicians. Like we're politicians that need to listen to the private industry, and that's what FCM has to realize. Like I'm not going up there. If I want to go listen to Neji blabber about something, I'll go to Calgary. I won't go to Halifax.
What my point being is that let's get these thoughts and these concerns on paper
Yeah.
to someone that's gonna make a difference other than just going back and forth here. So
Well,
that's
yeah,
what
no,
I'm trying to get.
I honestly, I don't know how, you would have to
I
do
don't know
something
how
with
to
the
do
RMA that would have enough clout with the RMA to
Okay.
invite somebody like Vivian Krause, and whether or not she'd be,
So can staff?
would
I
she
think
be
we
allowed to
or-
talk over
We have
this?
a few ideas we can put something
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
from discussions with our district representative and with Al. This is on RMA's, like it's one of their top priorities as well.
How's
So they are in discussions with us
It's just
around
that we
this.
put that resolution
Yes,
forward and we need to do something.
Yeah, concrete ideas of how to make it better.
See, if you don't feel it, I'm way more open.
Okay, I lost. Did we do a motion?
I don't believe we do.
So I move that we move forward to present something to RMA.
What is that
concerns and
something?
thoughts.
Draft a
A
letter.
letter, there we go.
Draft a letter.
Send something.
Send some
Send
flowers,
something
flowers,
to
send
us.
flowers. Okay, a letter that, of our thoughts and concerns.
As long as it gets circulated before.
Yeah, and pass to us,
So,
through email.
Part of that could be, vote in there about this.
Yeah, that's what- you don't like something.
Resolution. They need to know that we're looking at something along that line too.
Yes.
So is,
Yeah, could council be a little bit more specific with that resolution, just so they can provide administration direction on how to proceed?
Okay.
and I had a question about timelines too, because we will be presenting that resolution next week, so we don't have another council meeting to ratify a letter prior to that. So, just looking at our agenda.
Can we add it to the end and maybe
Yeah,
one of
that's
these
what I
nice
was gonna
staff members
suggest.
will
Or
come
like,
up with something?
we might be able to draw something up.
Sure.
I'm willing to.
So we'll leave that for now.
so no resolution then?
Not yet.
No, not
We're
yet.
gonna wait for a letter.
We'll have discussion.
Just wanted to let you guys know about the Canadian Badlands Conference is being planned, and it will be held in Strathmore on March 4th to 6th. Now, I know there's been a debate about, I wish I could have made to that meeting, whether tourism, how important Canadian Badlands is. And being in tourism, I really do think that it is important. It is third in line for our Alberta's revenue. We don't wanna lose, Canadian Badlands has 61 municipalities and villages behind them. We don't wanna lose that voice. We need that voice. I just saw the budget that, they took away $3 million from the Calgary Stampede. That's tourism. Why are they getting tourism dollars and we're not? So Canadian Badlands is putting a letter together for me to, that has been going, and they've been doing conversations with, the minister, Tanya.
Do you know how
Right.
rich the Stampede is?
It just drives me crazy. But, about getting some of the funding to the east. I mean, they keep saying that Banff is full, so I don't know if Banff is full, they just started donating to Calgary, I don't know, but it is a huge voice. And we need to keep that voice together. And that's what the letter's gonna go out to the shareholders. Because they need to know that it is important that we stay, especially now that we stay together. And some other things are coming out, we're changing it, some few things around that you'll see how important Canadian Bandits can be. And so anyway, and some of that stuff will be at the conference. So put it on your calendars. Also, the Christmas Hamper Society is looking for volunteers, so that's why I attached this schedule. So if anybody's looking to do something really nice for Christmas, has any spare time, there's some dates there that you can help out. There's also a letter from a ratepayer, which it was given to me, mailed to me, and I didn't have any means of getting it to you digitally in time, so I'm just gonna leave it with you, and I'm gonna leave it with Brian, and I would ask that it come back to the next council in December, no, in 19th or 18th.
December 3rd, yeah.
December 3rd?
Yep.
We don't have a say.
Okay, December 3rd. If you don't mind looking into that for
Yep.
me. And, it's why I brought it forward mostly is that this is a pensioner that's having trouble with the checks coming in and money going out, being paid online. And if it's a problem with one senior, I worry that it's a problem with a few. So we need to actually look at it, because this could be something that's, we have to look and verify it, but then see if there's something we can do to help the seniors. Okay, that was it. And I will.
I'm not there yet, but I'm getting closer.
Yeah, me too. So that's why I'm gonna make sure this works.
Priorities change.
So I move my report as presented.
Any questions or comments?
This letter to the RMA, is it to the executive, the RMA?
He's the one that asked for it.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be done by Monday, right? We can send it in 3 weeks, a month, until we get it right.
It is worse. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's direction, basically.
yeah, I would say we'd like to have it definitely done this year. But yeah, I would make sure it's right before we send it out. It doesn't have to be done by next week. Just a comment.
Division 4. Oh, sorry. All in favor. Sorry. Thank you. Motion carried. Now, we had a request for a 5 minute.
Yeah, you guys can go ahead and.
So we'll take a break till 10:30.
My report is in front of you. Everything else sort of been covered. The only thing I want to touch base on is the October 28th meeting with Minister Maddow. And I think it went very well. I think he's very receptive to why the reasons our concerns about being in the CMRB and all that. So I'm hoping that what he said he takes to heart, and that there will be one less committee that we will have to be on. So, and with that, I'll move my report.
Any questions or discussion?
Not as one.
Well,
Yeah, it's 4. 5.
All in favor? Motion is carried. Division 6.
Sorry, my computer is in the process of getting fixed, so I wasn't able to get it in. See if I can find it here. So I'll just read it. October 1st, we had council. October 2nd, that was ASB, Emergency Management. October 3rd, we had the Sauer Communications Workshop. I found quite valuable. That was a good deal. October 4th, we had the RMA District 2 Fall General Meeting.
So just like the Chinese.
Yeah. Yeah, that and other things. October 7th, we had the Wademsa board meeting. And, we're trying to meet with the Minister of Health. Still nothing on that front on the shifting changes. We're at 8th, MPC. October 9th, we have the joint meeting with Strathmore. We've had comments with that already. On the October the 10th, we had a Wheatland Housing Board meeting. And of interest, we debriefed Minister Pond's meeting. And it was decided at that meeting we need to have motions for the donated land and and motions for hospice to become a member. I was the one who asked Brian to find that motion for
The lovely one, that one that
yeah. Haven't talked to anybody from Strathmore yet about that motion, what it actually means. We have a board meeting coming up in 2 weeks, we'll get some better clarification. Until that time, I know we talked about a county motion. Until that time, I'm not prepared to have a county motion. And we have motions both for the Hospice Society made a motion to formally ask to join, and the board has a formal motion to accept them. It's now up to the minister, and it could take about 6 months to get that process done. Wheatland Housing is contemplating about a $200,000 levy for the Hospice Society. And currently, we levy $420,000. So it'd be half of what, if you look in your tax bill, the levy. And I think when I looked at mine, it's around $30, so I don't say I'm average or not, but it could be a $15 hit per ratepayer. When we originally started talking about it, it was a per capita thing, but we can't do a per capita thing, especially the board, it's all on assessment. Okay. And then there was discussion last month. The Reeve stated that the steering committee of Wheatland Housing had a meeting, and I wasn't at that meeting, and that they wanted the Reeve to attend the meeting with Minister Pond, and that this meeting they directed Strathmore to put her name on the invitation list. The members that attended this meeting stated that this was not the case. In fact, they did not even discuss the issue. I later asked Doug Legore what happened, and he said he just put Amber's name on the list together with Pat and the board members. And for everyone that doesn't know, Doug works for the town of Strathmore. And I also understand, no, that's what's fine. On October 15th, council organizational. We had a very good meeting on the 16th on Township Road 250 with the residents. I've seen when we have the budget meeting, I'll have more comments on that for sure. October 18th, we had a CMRB governance meeting. And there was 2 things I think council should be aware of. One of the mandates of forming the CMRB board was to have a conflict and resolution policy established. That was supposed to be the #1 thing to get done. It still isn't done. And it's not going to be easy. From our perspective, we have a hard time with Calgary having a veto vote. And it was shared with us that there are some accept this premise, because the opposite of it is Calgary has a hard time, 5% telling Calgary what to do. But after giving it some thought, I'm not against that. I agree, 5% or 95% should not be able to tell Calgary what to do. No different than 5% or 95% tell Wheatland County or any other county what to do. So it's going to take some work. I don't know what's going to happen. And also at that meeting, there's been 3 meetings of CAOs, and they've talked about how they're going to fund the CMRB for requisitioning powers. And we had some discussion, and it was the thoughts of the board that province isn't going to spend any of this funding for the immediate future because we haven't got everything done. And if you looked in the last budget, I think we're in for about a 50% cut. So I'm thinking that's going to come back up. Yeah. October 22nd, we had the fire mediation meeting in Rocky Ford. We'll talk about that. October 23rd, I attended on my own the hospice update and AGM. As well, they had a good meeting. The room was full. It was in the library, that room they have for meetings there. It was full. There's a lot of support out there for the hospice. On October 25th, there was a conference call with Minister Pond. She spoke for about, I don't know, I'd say 5 minutes. And the gist of their talk was the province is trying to get in budget and there'll be spending cuts. So if anyone familiar with how we do the budget on social housing, that was the talk, was more on the social housing aspect. It's called deficit financing. Board passes a deficit budget, then we send it off to the province, and the province looks at it, and in essence, that deficit funding, because the municipalities don't put any money into the social housing portfolio. Well, the province looks at it, see if they agree with it, then they, okay, we'll give you this much money. It might be as much as you asked for, it might be less than or more than. It's usually the same as or less than. Anyway, there's a cut to the funding, don't know how much. And she made a nice statement that there's no need to resubmit our budgets. The staff up there in Edmonton will look after the budget cuts themselves. And on the 28th, we had a meeting with Minister of Municipal Affairs, Madhu. Yeah, I thought it was a very good meeting. I believe it was worth the trip. He was open and receptive. His mind was not made up. Okay. And just one other thing, I usually don't report on phone calls from citizens. I like it in writing. But anyway, I got a phone call, and there's a story out there in the county, I don't know if it's true or not, but that the county signed a contract with GFL to haul the waste out of our transfer sites and them steel loading bins, I forget what you call them. But I'm thinking that contract's through
That's Drumline Solid Waste, not the county.
we don't ratify it in any way or not. But I was just wondering, has there been a meeting for this solid waste contract, or
It's in
It didn't come up in my report.
it's in your report? Okay, thanks. Sorry, Ben, I didn't read
No,
it.
that's all right.
Okay. And like I said, I have computer issues. There's about, I don't know how many things buzzing around the bottom of it right now. And that's it. I'll move my report. If there's any questions, I'll accept them, try and answer them.
I just have one comment. I'm not sure that it merits a response, but as we discussed on the phone, I'm not sure it merits a response, but as we discussed on the phone, I said that we would have to agree to disagree. Members of the, and I believe I have the wrong term, I believe it's in the building committee. certain members that I spoke to have a different recollection of that meeting, and I do just want to remind council that under section 154, 2 of the MGA, the chief elected official is a member of all council committees and all bodies to which council has the right to appoint members under this act, unless the council provides otherwise. So I was sitting as a member, or I could also have attended that meeting as a member of the housing board. It's kind of a moot point, I'm not sure why it's coming up again, but just for clarification, I was asked to attend that meeting the day before the meeting, and I went to great lengths to be prepared to attend that meeting. So I'm not sure why it's coming up again, but clearly there's some kind of issue. Are there any other questions or discussion?
I'd like to answer that.
Sure.
I'm telling you what happened at the meeting. If you think something else happened, that's fine. We talked to the board members, and this is what the board members said. I talked to Doug Legore, and that's what he said. That you were at the meeting, I don't have any problems with. I know as a reeve, you can go to any meeting you want. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is the 3 villages were left out. And I believe at the partnership meeting, I wasn't there, but I had heard about it the next day, that the villages are apologized to by the mayor of Strathmore for Strathmore not inviting them. It's as simple as that. I just want to be clear that the lodge did not ask the reeve to come. Strathmore Council invited you. Maybe not Strathmore Council, but the employee that works for Strathmore. I've done everything I can, believe me or not, fine. I'm not doing this out of spite of you or anybody. I'm doing this because I want the villages to be absolutely certain that the lodge did not invite one mayor over the others. It's as simple as that. And take it for what it is. If you don't believe it, maybe fine.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Motion is carried. Division 7.
Thank you. The reports in front of you, I'll just highlight a couple of areas through there. Drumheller and solid waste, yes, I've heard the rumor also, I've had some questions on it, but the county does not have an agreement with GFL. That's a process through Drumheller solid waste where we sent out tenders and we got 4 tenders in. I'm just saying what I can put out there. There was some issue with some of the tender documents, and after the executive reviewed it quite extensively, we split the tender and we awarded the waste hauling to GFL, and the recycle side of it went to waste management. Waste management tried prior to the decision. They had, in fact, the executive reviewed some of their comments, and they were trying to change some of the wording in the document, the tender documents, and we refused to look at that prior to, because the other applicants didn't have the same opportunity. There was some issues with their machinery, and we made the decision accordingly. And afterwards, they had some issues on it, but they did come back and apologize for how they dealt with it. So, anyways, the tender is out. It had to be out. The tender was up as of December 31st, so we had to award it, and so it is the way it is. And it went to the board. The executive put a proposal to the board, and the board accepted it. So that's the way the tenders were awarded, and the award letters have all gone out. Partnership meeting in Hazara, and the SEWA board meeting was held here. And thank you guys for showing up for the presentation of Drumheller Solid Waste by our vice chair and project lead Paul Ryan for the SEWA project. There wasn't as many questions as we'd hoped from some of the ones that were so vocal a few months ago. We were hoping they would have a few more questions, and they didn't. But anyways, it was a good presentation, and hopefully we will we're pushing for it. I'm assuming now that most of the harvest is done, so the engineers should be out there doing their geotech to finalize that and bring back something to the board to consider before the end of the year as far as the location of the site, so we're looking forward to that. Other than that, if there's no other questions, I'll move my report.
Any questions?
Just a comment, I'm sorry I missed that meeting, I was harvesting, I'm done now. And the looks of it out there, it'll be a while yet before anybody else. And so, just to be clear, I'm having a hard time hearing over here, the
Okay.
room and stuff. GFL was awarded the contract for hauling, or?
For the hauling, we split the contract and they were awarded the hauling side and Waste Management was awarded the recycle hauling. So we split the,
Okay,
they had the option in the tender to present both or split it, and we split it and awarded it two different ways. We would have liked to have had it all under one, but because of issues within the documents, we couldn't.
okay. So the board didn't feel like there was any conflict with GFL on it?
That was, that's why I said that the executive discussed that to quite some length, and there was some controversy over that, but at the end of the day, when it come down to the tender documents, there was no other option for us other than that.
Along the lines of the same question, I was at the meeting before that, the SAWA, I didn't know this would be in there at all, that was gonna be discussed that day. Of course I have issues with this, being that we were sitting in court for 2 days against this company. And essentially, my biggest problem is we're paying for their court costs now, through arm's length court, nothing against you. It's just, I've heard from many of my ratepayers, and there's a lot of people that have lack of confidence in what we're doing now because of this. I will do everything in my power to make sure we can try to get out of this in some way, shape, or form. I promise you that. I don't know how it will work out.
You can try everything you want, it's a separate association, and we have our mandate, and our mandate has been fulfilled, so.
I don't agree with you on that. I don't accept that. I'm sorry, but I can't.
You gotta remember, we're one member of a 13-member association, and they handle their own, waste belongs to the association once it hits our transfer sites, and we deal with it accordingly. And as far as, I'm not gonna go into everything that the executive discussed, because some of it's confidential. There, like I said, there was opposition to it, but it is what it is, and a lot of their feeling was that they understand where we are with this, and that we were in the courts with them. That isn't their issue as an association, and the composting is a different issue than what we're looking at, and there we could find no fault in what we were looking at as far as the hauling portion was. And like you said, you've spent some time in court, and I agree with you, you have spent time in court, and I don't think that's finished yet. So we couldn't make our decision on anything concrete that has come out of that. We had to make it on the information that we had there, and if they don't fulfill their part of their contract, they will lose it. As simple as that. We've done it before with other haulers, and we'll do it again. If there's some issues with how they perform in their contract, we'll deal with it.
I agree with Ben, this is another board. I won't say it's sad to say, it's another board that has jurisdiction over us that we were willing members to participate in. We have an agreement with them. My main concern was that the board knew about our conflicts and they were properly discussed it before the vote. Sounds like they did, and that's all we can say. And I've know that the board has terminated other contracts for lack of whatever at the into a lot of those discussions. But I know the board is not scared to terminate contracts. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Any other questions or discussion?
Yep.
All in favor of passing Lenny's report? Opposed?
How does that?
I don't know. I'm doing.
Motion is carried. CAO report.
I refuse to accept it.
That's funny.
Good luck with that.
It's a hill of an eye on, put it that way.
Brian, we just have a question from a counselor. We have a ratepayer in attendance regarding 4.4C2.
Yep.
We're just wondering if we could move it up in the agenda.
Yeah, let's move it over.
Is there any objection from council to moving to 4.4C2? Just because we have a ratepayer here. Who's interested in that decision?
I could make it really quick.
Okay, so we'll move to 4.4C2. It's a request for a time extension for SD 2016-20.
Did you say the ratepayer story? Madam Reeve, did the ratepayer
Yeah,
want to
there's a-
speak? Or do you want me to present this?
Just present.
Just present it
Just-
so we can get out of here. No offense.
If administration is okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't want to waste more of your time.
I'm catching up on Steve from Harvest.
You're in the right place then.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be much more online than now.
No.
Not this week.
I don't think next week either is that shit forecast next week too.
Snow before you're done harvest means way different things than snow after harvest.
Yeah.
They're combine canola. It's, look like there's any snow. We combine through the field, so it's tires of snow. It's all
Well, that's I was baling straw and I was collecting snow in the tires. I'm like, just keep going. I gotta get it all. I'll move that staff recommend council choose option 1 to approve a 6-month time extension for subdivision SD 2016-20 to subdivide 4 condominium units for a proposed truck stop and RV storage. Valid until May 16, 2020.
It's page 72. That's Dobbins.
Just a confirmation from staff that there has been a lot of work done on this. That, this process that hasn't been sitting idle for the last year or whatever.
No, the snow kind of put a
Yeah.
damper on
That's correct.
paving.
Just for clarification through the Reeve, would you still like to hear any comments or concerns?
Sure.
There's a
If
motion.
you want to present, that would be great.
Excellent. So there's a motion before you, a staff recommendation to choose option 1 to approve the 6-month time extension for SD 2016-20 to subdivide 4 condominium units for proposed truck stop and RV storage at Junction Corner and Route 24. As you can see in the key issues and topics defined, the applicant has worked consistently with the planning division as well as the transportation and infrastructure department to meet conditions as outlined. As you can see further in the verbiage, there is a status of subdivision conditions. So many of those conditions have been met. However, there is 4 outlined in the report: signing of the development agreement, payment of the 125% securities, signing of the backsloping agreement, and payment of the municipal reserve still to be complete. As council is well aware, the 125% of the securities are status quo, as we discussed. And once those securities are paid, everything else will fall into place.
So of the 16 subdivision conditions, 12 are met and just 4 are outstanding.
That's pretty
Further
good.
to your question.
Not my question. Ben's.
Sorry, Ben. Further to your motion. There's a motion on the floor. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
I voted in favor.
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. And now we will return to the CA report.
Where's Steve today?
Good morning.
Good morning, Council. So on page 55 is just my monthly report. Not too much to report. Everything's kind of there. I did send out courtesy letters to municipalities that will be impacted by the potential reduced CRISP funding. There is no firm commitments in there because we still are awaiting the provincial assessment changes. If they do come down, we do anticipate they will. Besides that, we've been pretty diligent working on a lot of different items. One main focus has been the capital operating budgets for council, so getting those kind of ready for you guys to review. Attended some various meetings, and we worked together for the audit service RFP, which recommendation is in this package for later.
Any questions or discussion? All a motion to approve the CA report.
report as information.
Councillor Eckert has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Corporate and financial services report.
Yes, so council, same kind of thing. Quite a bit going on in corporate services. We did have 2 assessment appeals this year, 2 residential ones, which usually don't occur. The county, since I have started here, we've never had a LARB, which is the residential appeal happen. So there was 2, and the board just delivered some decisions yesterday. I think we're just in the process of getting those sent out to the ratepayers. Our financial analyst position, that was filled. So Joel Chazon, he started on October 7th. And just other regular things. We published and sent out the HR policy changes on October 15th, or shortly thereafter that council meeting. And then we just, with IT, just working on other things. We did migrate our email service over to Office 365. There's a few kinks with that as well. I think council may be aware. But it does provide extra security, which is really good for us as well. And there's a lot of added features as well. So one thing that you may notice as you're trying to open up an email, it will take a little bit longer to open an attachment, and that's because every attachment now is scanned before someone can open it. That includes potential files coming in that are malware or anything like that that could go into our system and impact things that way. So it's a lot more secure. It's definitely long overdue, and that was one of the big things last month.
Any questions?
Yeah, this LARB board, who is it, where do they come from, what's it all about?
So there's kind of 2 pieces of it. So there's 2 separate ones. One's called CARB and one's called LARB. So CARB is the non-residential assessment appeals, and the LARB is the residential assessment appeals. So every year when we send out our tax and assessment notices, the ratepayer does have the right to challenge our assessment that we send out and that our county assessor does. So in that process, this year there was 2 appeals.
Yeah.
So what happens is that for the LARB, there's a local panel that has 3 members, and they come in, the review is recorded. It's similar to almost like a judicial review almost, where there's 2 parties, the ratepayer and the senior assessor. And then the board hears the merits of the residential complaint, and then the board decides if the residential complaint is valid or not, and adjustments could be made at that point. So
And this board is just ongoing
Yeah.
all the years?
Yeah, it is.
Or is it limited to 4 years?
The term, you know what, I'd have to take a look at the terms. Our board members, I believe they're appointed annually.
Oh.
but I can double check with that one.
And you guys just choose them, or you?
So you have to do specific training for them.
Oh, okay.
And actually, we are in a intermunicipal pool with other municipalities that are in our jurisdiction. So not our jurisdiction, but our county border. So the villages in the town,
Oh.
we share clerks and board members. So in a case like this where we have 3 county board members, they just sit on the board. So the provincial one, just for your information, is the CARB, which is the non-residential one, which we did have an appeal, but that's just kind of in a waiting process at the moment. Just other kind of things open with that one too. But that one has a provincial board member that sits on that as well. So that provincial board member is actually the chair, and with the local, with the LARB hearing, it's actually the board members that are the chair. They elect one at the start of each
Oh.
hearing, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, I just didn't know anything about it.
Nope, and since I've started in 2016, so that's 4 periods or 4 potential appeal periods. There's only been 2 LARB hearings, and they were both this year, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? A motion to approve the corporate and financial services report as information.
I'll move.
Councillor Kester has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. There's an RFD regarding financial auditors.
Yes, Council, so on page 59 of your agenda package, this year our current appointed financial statement auditor, KPMG, noted that they could not fulfill the contract with the county. So this was the last year of their signed agreement that they had with us. So with that process, we did send out an RFP for bidders for the contract. We had 7 responses, which was great. Very skilled responses as well, or respondents as well. Lots of them had the means to complete it for us. We were in a great position for it, actually. So lots of people out there hungry for the job. So I believe it's section 280 of the NGA as well. The council must appoint an auditor every year. So that needs to be done as well. The reason for the motions here, the first motion is to rescind the appointment of KPMG as the auditor for 2019. The reason behind that is that in 2015, there was a motion done at the organizational meeting appointing them for 5 years. So administration didn't want to rescind that whole motion, because then that would have rescinded them as the auditor for 15, 16, 17, and 18, even though they had completed the job. So we thought just a simple 1-line motion to kind of take them out from 2019 and then award the contract as we kind of saw it. So.
Council's wishes.
I'll move that council rescind the appointment of KPMG LLP as auditor for 2019.
Questions or discussion on the motion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
I'll move that council approve the Wheatland County to enter an agreement with MNP LLP for a 3-year contract for financial statement audit services with a possibility extension of a 2-year term.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
I'll move the council appoint MNP LLP as the financial statement auditor for the 2019 fiscal year.
Questions or discussion?
Is this into addition to the 3-year contract or part of the 3-year contract?
So motion 2 would have been for the possibility of an extension for after the first 3 years. It is fairly typical for that to occur. So we're locked in with them for 3 years now. I believe the prices are at the bottom. It's under the financial part with the proposed fee schedule. And maybe I actually should have mentioned this as well. But part of the municipality, we are required to have an audit on our LAPP, which is our defined pension program for the employees. So that one as well, they have to do an extra audit for that one, and that's mandated by, I believe, it might be the provincial government or that body, the AM, PIMCO, I think it is, the pension thing. So I did forget to mention that, it was definitely in the report. So that was one piece of it. So, but sorry, to answer your question, 2 years in addition to after the first 30.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Do we have a motion for motion? You do? Okay, Deputy Reeve Clausen has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. We have an RFD regarding the unaudited financial statements as of September 30th, 2019.
Yes, Council. So on page 62 and 63 of the agenda package is an unaudited statement of financial position. We did provide notes for Council as well, and as we usually do, or always do, I should say, they're always at the bottom for kind of clarification purposes. Please note that these are unaudited as well, so we do our best to try to get accruals in and make sure all the payables are in. One thing with these statements compared to the audited ones, the audited ones at December 31st are significantly more tested. A couple things to note that are a little bit different on this period than prior periods is that our net financial assets are down quite a bit. They're down to the tune of roughly $10 million or maybe 11 or 12. So there's a couple of reasons behind that. One, our accounts payable is up about, I'd say $5 million, and the reason for that is that those payments are for gravel pit payments that we've made. Because we don't borrow for those gravel pits, it's kind of just a deal between the county and the person who is selling us the pit. So we don't borrow funds, so they're just kind of sitting there as well. But you will notice that under the non-financial assets, the inventory for consumption, that line's also up about $5 million, and that would correspond with the increase in the liabilities there. Deferred revenue, that's up a little bit as well. So what that is just some provincial grants that we have received, but we haven't allocated to capital projects. There are some projects that we are currently working on or that have been approved that haven't gone forward yet that we have set aside deferred revenue for that. So that's one reason why that liability is up. And then one other small note is that the provision for reclamation. So what that is we have gravel pits in the county that we have to do reclamation on, so we have a little bit of a liability for that. And as well, there's another site that the county is duly responsible for that we have to accrue for as well. So. And then on page 63, our revenue, one thing I wanted to try to draw council's attention to is our net property taxes. So this will come out a lot clearer on December 31, but kind of the reason that we're over budget at this point is just because of in that net property taxes amount is our education requisition, and there has been a large credit from the province for our shallow gas wells, that's SGTRI, that we approved at the last council meeting. So that amount, the initial, it was roughly $900,000 is in there as a credit, but the amount hasn't been written off yet. So that's why there's a little bit of a swing there. Just for financial reporting purposes though, that has to be in there, so. But besides that, we're still kind of waiting on some things to come through. The budget amounts, usually what we do is we just take our full annual allotment and divide that by 12. Depending on if we know that a certain expense is coming in. So we do try to be as accurate as possible, and then sometimes there's inventory adjustments at the end of the year that can swing these numbers dramatically. So kind of just our best estimate, but as of right now, we are currently under budget. So.
Any questions or comments on the financial statements?
Yeah, on C note 3, WRC loan, is the $2,008,974. That's reconciled amount with WRC.
We're still pulling some information. There's a little bit of work to do, but I believe we have all the information at this point that we can work with. One item not included in there was the fill station that they completed. It's either the north or south one, but we did make a resolution to commit to that. So I believe most of the work there has been completed. So we just have to kind of take that number and just adjust it as accordingly. So
yeah, I believe the south one. I think the north one is not existent
north one
anymore.
South. Okay, so it's the south one. Yeah,
just the south one.
Okay. Yep, I have been working with Elaine and Leah on just pulling the information. They've been very cooperative in sending everything over, so that hasn't been a delay on there, and just more of internally just kind of working on it.
So, yeah, we have a meeting in a couple of weeks. Would be, if we knew, then we can maybe make a motion, get this all cleared up.
Perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
and that is our intention to clear this amount up before we proceed with the or lending bylaw for phase 3.
So in a nutshell, then, the loan minus our contribution
$500,000.
for the bulk fill station. So it should be 1.5 still owed.
I think we granted $500,000 in the motion, did we not?
I think 600 there, yes.
Or six? I'm
Yeah,
not
so
sure.
that 600,000 also hasn't been included in this calculation because I'm not, so there has been 620,000 towards the phase 3 as a contribution, like a non-refundable amount from the county, and that was a part of the Water for Life. So we could just take that off the top of that as well. And then, yeah, so it probably is a little bit less than that, so.
Dwindle it down to nothing, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think we can dwindle it down to nothing, dwindle it down to nothing, sorry,
Yeah,
but it would be close, so.
okay, thanks. If we could have that itemized for the next meeting,
Yeah,
that would be great. And that's 21st or?
I'm not sure if the date has been finalized yet.
if administration could get a date for the WRC board meeting, that would help.
26.
26th, okay.
Any other questions on the financial statements? A motion to approve is information. Councillor Wilson has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, Brian. Community and Development Services report.
So, excuse me, before you have Community and Development Services report, looking at data for the Planning Division year to September, and looking at the other divisions and the activities that have been going on. As you've noticed, more than likely in the supplementary package here, there is year-to-date data for our permit, both planning, development, and safety codes intake. There's not really a large differential with our previous year comparisons. Looking at our community services initiatives, we're going to be starting our engagement program for the Recreation, Culture, and Parks Master Plan. Looking at Q1, rolling that out. We're developing that engagement plan as we speak, going out to the community with our consultant, as council knows that we indicated that we may have to have some supplementary consultant work with our engagement. However, the rest of that plan will be constructed in-house. On that note as well, with regards to municipal development plan, we are developing our engagement strategy right now. We have a terms of reference that we did develop and that we did distribute to council as well to review at our planning and priorities meeting. However, we did not get to that at this point, but I'm hoping that council had a review of those terms of reference for council's information. So we are developing that engagement strategy in tandem with our Recreation Culture Master Plan. In addition to that, county staff and administration and the town of Strathmore staff continue to work with both parties on the recreation cost sharing agreement, community service side of things. So we have met with both councils and we're going to bring back some more information from council more than likely in January of 2020. For economic development, council is aware that we did roll out the branding, our new brand for our tactical brand for our business development and retention and storytelling for the county as well. That was a successful engagement and presentation session. We rolled it out to administration and staff for our first presentation session, and secondly, we invited dignitaries and other businesses to come and hear what we are doing. So that was a very exciting day for the department. With geographic information systems, we're continuing with regards to rolling out that program internally. We are working with our planning staff to get them up and running And then we will work with the agricultural division to educate them, that staff, on how the applications of GIS will be best utilized for those staff. And if you have any questions, great.
Any questions?
Yeah, thanks. I see 28 trees were planted in Gleason as part of the tree.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Is there any trees left over to plant some in Rosebud? There was a couple trees knocked down there in front, not in front, between the Opera House and that's Rosie.
I can certainly look into that for you.
Yeah, because they're expecting some trees. Somebody promised them a tree, I heard the other day, so. You look into it.
I'll look into that for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? A motion to approve this information.
I'll move.
Councillor Avery has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. Move to transportation and agriculture. Good morning.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
Okay, you'll see the Transportation and Agriculture October report in front of you. Just some highlights. We are finishing up the work on Range Road 245, just west of the office here. Hope to get that construction completed this year, short of a little bit of cleanup that we'll have to do in the spring for topsoil storage and that sort of thing. It was definitely a difficult job. There were lots of wetlands on that project, lots of restrictions on right of way where we could work inside there. So it definitely took longer than we anticipated, but the end product you'll see is quite favorable. I think the residents will be happy with that one. Same thing with Township 252 up north. The contractor is finalizing, they're spreading topsoil and graveling the road right now, as well as they finishing up the erosion protection around the bridge valley up there. So that one went fairly smoothly, not a lot of hiccups up there. And the road should be open in the next couple of weeks for traffic. Another item of note, the Clooney former community hall there was demolished yesterday, day before yesterday, so that went quite well. We had the asbestos removed, the stucco on the siding removed, and demolished, and is being currently hauled away to the landfill. So
Everybody's really happy.
yeah, that's good to hear. Nice to finally get that project.
What do we do with the pigeons? Did we relocate them into Strathmore?
Yeah, we were wondering about that yesterday.
I had a falconer.
We're trafficking them now.
Yeah. Here, pigeon.
There's a guy in Lakeland that has falcons. He loves them. Those are the only friend.
Okay, yeah, and the gravel program is complete now. We'll move to South Island.
Thanks for making those roads. That was nice.
And then graveling.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good.
That worked
We
out
got
well.
everything before the snow flew here. And any questions I can answer from council?
That was a
Through the chair, I got a question, just heads up. I got a phone call from one of the residents out in Duck Lake. And the crews were working on the roads. It's nothing to do with our crews. They, on that road, they were moving combines down and they had to pull over for a truck or something on the road. And one of the signs had broken off and they didn't see it. And they punctured one of the square metal posts. And he said it was out of the ground about 6-8 inches. And he punctured one of the duals on his combine. So he asked me what I said, just take pictures of it, write out an explanation, send it into the office, and they'll turn it over to the insurance company. So that's suitable here if they anyway told him. He was happy with that. He said he'd go down and take some pictures of it and write up something and send it. But they are happy with the road.
Mike, how about that train whistle in Carson? Anything yet?
As like the last last meeting, I am continuing to attempt to contact CP on this. Now I've gotten basically radio silence across the board from everyone I've attempted to consult with, so I'm looking at different avenues, because, yeah, it was very favorable at first and willing, and now I'm not able to, I'm going to the heads, and there's still not a lot of response there. So I'm looking at other avenues to hopefully get this completed.
Do you know of any other communities that have done that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There has. Do you know their names of them? Maybe we can ask who they contacted to get it done.
I think that might be the next step. Yeah, it's definitely still on the game plan.
Okay.
Gonna have to find
And
a
then
place.
there was a ratepayer that wrote a letter about the hookup in Carsland, looking up to the. Did we look into that more, or a conversation on that?
That one was with me, and I just have not had a chance to get back to it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, the $4,000 capital
Yes.
Levy Connect fee. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on my list to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair, I think we're gonna bring that back to a future planning priorities meeting.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it with my to-dos.
Mike, road widening at Rosebud, is that the road going to the seed plant?
Yeah, through the chair, that's a commitment we made a couple of years ago when we put the grader shop up there, was to
Okay.
widen the road. I think they are attempting to get out there this week and last week to move the services and do that road widening this fall.
Okay, I'm just checking which road it was.
Oh yeah, no, it's the one right beside the basically when we built the road with the grader shop, we did extend a little bit. It was still on our property, but we had to move the access road to the seed plant. And we've limited the visibility around our shop, so we've committed to widening that road so that it's safe travel for the trucks going.
Good, thank you.
252, those box concerns that I talked to you about, has that been, that was with the landowner, or?
Yeah, through the chair, I asked
satisfied, or
the
going
landowner, and we're planning on meeting in a couple weeks when the snow.
And I drove that road here on the weekend, it looks narrow compared to what it was before, but I mean, the engineers were there, but it does look really narrow.
I don't think it's more narrow. I was just on it yesterday. I was up at Deschamps. I didn't.
But yeah, as long as you're on it, that's all.
Yeah, no, that's, they're all constructed 8.6 meter top.
Fair enough.
Any other questions or comments? A motion to accept his information.
That's so moved.
Councillor Bigger has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. An RFD regarding a lease agreement for gravel pit.
Okay, so through the chair, this request is for a 5-year term to continue the current lease that we have with the municipal gravel pit. So a privately owned gravel pit that we've been leasing for a number of years now. We're intending to be out of this pit and finish our crushing in there last year, but due to our next pit not being ready for extraction yet, we've asked it 5 more years, a maximum 5 years. I'm hoping we're only here for a couple of years before we can move out to our own purchase gravel pit. So the rates are consistent with what we paid in the past year, and we've consulted with the landowner. They are in agreement with these rates.
Council's wishes.
I'll move the recommendation.
Councillor Wilson has moved. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. There's an RFD regarding a lease agreement.
License.
Oh, licensing agreement, sorry. For a lease.
Okay, so this license agreement is requesting on the form, well, on the current Goldsmith gravel pit. This is the remainder of the lands on there. This lease actually came up earlier in the year here, and it was awarded to a the current leasee that was in receipt of that for the last number of years. They've subsequently now requested that we end the lease. They're looking to do other things and really get out of farming, so they've asked that we open this lease for tender and ask they terminate with us. So we've received a letter from them confirming this, and we're hoping to have this sent out so that we can have somebody in place by the beginning of the year.
Council's wishes.
I'll move the recommendation.
Councilor Wilson has moved. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Protective Services report.
So before you, you have the Protective Services report up till September 2019. Of note, I think it's important to note that our peace officers are getting involved in community events much more now. One of the really great community events that our peace officers participated in was the truck run for the Special Olympics. We provided traffic control for commercial vehicle convoying in an effort to raise money for the Special Olympics. So that was a really nice event, and the division was quite proud of participating in that. Another one was providing traffic control for the Terry Fox Run at Reedland Crossing School. Our peace officers continue their training as well, so they're getting recertifications and also looking into the kind of professional development training to enhance their skills as we proceed. So that's quite positive to note with regards to the peace officers. Otherwise, you have data for September 2019 rather, with regards to be on the lookouts, case reports, any of our animal control issues that come along, and any by law enforcement. And I'll take any questions.
Questions or comments? A motion to accept his information.
I'll move the report.
Deputy Reeve Clausen has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. The progress report regarding emotional support animals.
So if council recalls, May 21st, 2019, we did have a motion that was brought forward and a case that was brought forward for emotional support chickens, and we did commit to council to, in fact, bring back a progress report with regards to what we are doing. We also committed to council that cases like that we would avoid bringing that to the council table as well. So we are developing a process internally. In addition to that, we have to, and we are rather looking at our land use bylaw and our animal control bylaw as well to do some minor tweaking and amendments with process so that we can internalize it as well. So we're developing that application and amending our bylaws as such, and council will be obviously privy to those bylaw amendments as we proceed, but this is just for information for council that we are almost there in terms of working on this and finalizing that internal process.
Any questions regarding the update?
I'd like to hear the poem again.
Yeah, can I?
No, can't have it, I didn't, somewhere in here.
And you have to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist?
Yeah.
Registered, yes. Not just a general MD.
So one thing you don't think is it should be like there's no problem with hens in a hamlet. So it'd be a rooster that would be the problem. There's no.
At this point, we don't allow any livestock.
So maybe
Being sexist.
I think sexist, yes.
Depends what they identify as that day.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Or
do that.
say it.
A rooster, but he identifies as a hen, so he's probably okay.
Oh, God.
Are there any questions regarding the case? A motion to accept his information.
So moved.
Councilor Wilson has moved. All in favor?
Oh,
Motion is carried. Thank you for your work on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Is that?
There is correspondence that was circulated as part of the package. a letter from Minister Madhu regarding impacts of the budget, a letter, and then letters from each of the villages, Standard, Hazara, and Rocky Ford regarding their organizational meetings and appointments. Are there any questions? A motion to accept as information? Oh my word. Councillor Egbert has moved? Was that the?
I thought Mr. Armstrong had moved.
Councillor Armstrong, did you move?
Well, I had my hand up too.
I just didn't get
Just
it
say,
open yet,
you
so.
pick who you want.
Okay, Councillor Armstrong has moved. All in favor?
Yeah, there you go, that's what I
Motion
wanted.
is carried now.
Hey, donut.
We do have several in-camera matters.
Let's eat lunch first,
Do we want to eat first?
and then we'll go into camera after.
Council hungry?
Is there food here?
Yeah, food should be here, isn't it?
Thirsty.
No business after, so it doesn't matter. We can stay here all afternoon, I got a meeting here tonight, so if you wanna stay here all afternoon.
Well, we are
that's fine.
staying, we're gonna work on the.
That was quick, eh, Don?
After, so. Okay, we will recess for lunch and then we will come back to the big camera.
At 12:30.
Sure, at 12:30.
To engage a mutual agreed upon consultant to debrief the July 7th, 2018 training incident.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. I'm going to move that we direct administration to bring back bylaw 2019-01 to amend fire board membership to include representatives of each of the villages of Hazar, Rocky Ford, and Standard. Questions or discussion? To clarify, it would be one representative from each of the villages, so 3 in total. All in favor? Motion is carried. I believe those were our only motions arising from in camera. There's nothing further, a motion to adjourn. We're just gonna do like informal review of that. Some of the, no. Councillor Kester has moved to adjourn. All in favor? Motion is carried.